Hello guys and gals, this is What If here, and this is going to be part 4 of What If Belle was a Dragonoid. And so, in the last episode, we left off with Eyes and Belle, clearing a small dungeon. Eyes gets, rather hurt, but then she's saved by a druid. And then, after some awkward silence moments with Belle and Eyes, they finally arrive at the fortress citadel of Hephaestus. And now, we go on. His Eyes and Belle are simply at that hill, observing the fortress itself, which, essentially, the fortress looks like this. On its left and right sides is covered by the, simply putting it, the middle range mountains, which are essentially a natural border because these mountains go all the way through the entire continent. And simply put, the largest and the safest way to get to the middle realm is right through this fortress. And if any of you guys are wondering, this fortress was essentially built by, let's just say that it was built by people who were expecting attacks from both gods and dragons on two different sides. So yeah, the fortress is rather formidable. And yeah, this fortress is essentially the main gathering place of blacksmiths, craftsmen, and anything like that. Although it does have some people who also specialize in essentially enchanting armor, so magic, and making potions. But enough about the city. As Eyes and Belle are currently looking over the entire city, they try to figure out the best way how to, essentially sneak in. The mountains have multiple pathways which lead to several different mines, although one problem. That problem being that every single one of those mines is more like an entire goddamn quarry. And it is also defended by, the Hephaestus Familia, along with the soldiers of the Hephaestus Familia. And if you guys are wondering, soldiers aren't adventurers, so they're not exactly a part of the Familia, just simple, troops which they have. And, simply put, before Belle and Ice can even make some sort of a plan, they hear something behind them. And as they turn around, they see a force of over 100 mercenaries, which seem to be which seem to have quite a few slaves. A few dozen or so, most of them being women and children. Now, Belle almost immediately goes ahead and gets his sword out, along with Eyes. But that's when the mercenary captain, which if any of you guys are wondering, is essentially an adventurer who belongs to, let's just say, a random familia. And his current level is level 5. Although be it, he's a mid-level 5. So not exactly weak. But, as he simply goes there and starts, and strikes up a conversation with Belle, as he simply asks Belle who the hell are they, with Belle responding, simple travelers. And that's when the mercenary captain simply says, well then, simple travelers who have top-of-the-line weapons and armor, I'm willing to let you go off alive if you give me all your equipment and if you also give the female to me. The female being Eyes. Safe to say that in that exact moment, Belle got fed up and, simply putting it, used a rather large, he imbued his sword with fire, and then he simply, swung at the air, which then, simply put, led a rather fiery blade strike at several mercenaries. and as soon as the flame does strike them, the armor which they were wearing gets melted. So does their skin, and the only thing left are their scorched bones. Now, at this point, Ice has also let down some of her own magic, that being her light magic, and was actually able to kill another few of the mercenaries. With both of them now killing about, let's say, 7 of the 100 which were there. And now, as the mercenary leader is about to get ready to attack them, several explosions are heard. And as those explosions happen, let's just say that a few dozen mercenaries are blown away. And just as Bell and Ice look behind them, they see over 200, essentially, regular soldiers and about 50 adventurers of the Hephaestus Familia, including the captain of that familia. And yeah, as they essentially start running towards them, the mercenaries immediately start to, well, run. Because they are severely outnumbered, and also the fact that their leader has no clue what sort of levels Bell and Ice are also puts them at a disadvantage. And yeah, as the Hephaestus Familia essentially surrounds Bell and Ice, with the soldiers going after the mercenaries, yeah, the head or the captain of the Hephaestus Familia, crap, I forgot her name. If any of you guys watch the anime, the third season, I believe that you know who she is. But essentially, yeah, she simply asks Bell and Ice, who exactly are they? With Bell and Ice almost immediately responding with, we're just travelers. And that's when the captain simply asks them this question. So you're travelers who, instead of going down the main road, decided to diverge from the road and go up this hill, which is surrounded by deep forest, easy to escape into. And also it's a good vantage point. Yeah, that's when simply Bell and Ice just, Ice simply says, yeah, we have no excuses for that one. As then the captain again asks them, what exactly do they want here? As Bell then simply states, we would like to go to the Middle Realm. With the captain simply stating, well, you see, that's going to be a bit of a problem. But, both of you seem to be capable, so follow me. With Bell and Ice accepting. As they follow the captain, they soon hear essentially screams. And yeah, before they went to the city, or as they were about to head out, they hear screams coming from the forest. And that's when only 27 of the soldiers arrive back. As the captain asks them what exactly happened, yeah. One of the few remaining soldiers simply says that the mercenaries ambushed them, and he also said that about a dozen of them were actually mages. So yeah, they were quickly destroyed. And with that being said, the captain of the Hephaestus Familia simply tells the remaining soldiers to follow them back to the citadel. And that's when Bell simply asks, what exactly is the deal with those mercenaries, marauders, whatever the hell they are? With the captain simply responding, simply put, they're mercenaries who are hired by a certain familia to get slaves. And let's just say that particular familia isn't exactly known for, well, let's just say that it isn't exactly known for its, well, legal views. Because, yeah, slaves are actually, simply put, rather illegal by most gods. Some of them still have slaves, with one of the main ones actually being the god of war Ares from the Greek mythology. But enough about that. And also the mercenaries aren't from his familia. And yeah, simply put, as they make their way towards the city, yeah, they head to the main tower, which, yes, this city also has its own dungeon. With this dungeon essentially being, well, it doesn't have any organic monsters per se. So now he doesn't have any of those, how you said, wolves and all that. Instead, it's mainly consisted of, well, golems and other mineral-based monsters. So, yeah. And also the entire dungeon simply is one of the few dungeons in the entirety of the world which is primarily used for mining. Because most of the adventurers which go there don't go to explore further floors. Well, except Hephaestus' familia. Most of the adventurers which go there are essentially escorting the miners and the researchers which are following them. Because that entire dungeon is filled to the brim with magical crystals, ores, and yeah. And quite a few magic ingredients as well, used for potions, and some of them are even good for enchanting. So yeah, all through all, that dungeon is extremely useful, and it has also made the entire fortress citadel extremely prosperous. But enough about that, because as Belle and Eyes are near the main entrance to the tower, the gates open, and out of the gates they see, well, essentially golems, but not the monster kind. These are essentially a type of security golems which Hephaestus has made. And how she made them? Well, essentially a bunch of craftsmen, blacksmiths, magicians, and quite a few alchemists as well came together and simply created a blueprint on how to make them, which is essentially getting a bunch of monster crystals, or cores, combining them all together with alchemy to create, well, a golem's core, which can then be, well, essentially works like a member of a familia, like an adventurer. If a goddess or a god simply takes a bit of their blood and then puts it on that golem, yeah, the golem then follows their every single word. And if the god or goddess simply tells the golem to follow the orders of the captain of the familia, they're going to follow their orders. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, as those golems simply make a perimeter around the entire tower, making it so that no civilians can exactly see Belle and Eyes. And that's when Hephaestus simply comes out of the door, along with her own, essentially, two private golems, which are a bit different from the other ones, because the other golems are essentially, well, your regular golems, so a bit large, clunky, and all that. The two golems which are following Hephaestus, yeah, they have a more humanoid shape, although the main difference being that they are 5 meters tall, and also they're the equivalent of level 7 adventurers, so rather powerful. And yes, well, Hephaestus simply goes ahead and speaks to Belle and Eyes, and before Belle and Eyes can even say anything to her, Hephaestus simply tells both of them that they can be in their dragonic forms. With Belle and Eyes simply shocked, because I'm not sure that if I say this in the last episode, but essentially Belle and Eyes can actually hide away their horns, tails, and, well, for Eyes, her wings. And most people, like, when they're like that, simply think that they're humans. But yeah, certain people, like extremely powerful magic users, and of course gods and, well, wyverns and dragons, can immediately see by their mana signature that they're not humans, or, well, they're part human, but mostly dragon. And yeah, So, simply put, as she tells them that the captain of her familia is essentially shocked, and so are essentially the vice captain and the three of the most trusted adventurers, or members of the familia, as well, because they had absolutely no clue that Eyes and Bell were Dragonoids. Because, essentially putting it, if Bell is a level 3, or currently I believe that I made him to be level 4, or hell, maybe, actually I forgot, although I think that I made him at a high, essentially the higher leveled level 4, with Eyes being somewhere in the middle of level 4, or at least for adventurers. But essentially, if Dragonoids fully use their power, you can add about a level and a half to their existing level. So simply put, with Bell being a high-ranked level 4, if you give him another level, he's going to be a high-ranked level 5. But then if you also give the rest of it, yeah, he now becomes a 6th level adventurer, with Eyes also becoming a 6th level. Other the main difference being that Bell is somewhere in the middle range of the 6th tier, while Eyes is, well, in the lower one. But still, a level 6 is still a level 6, extremely powerful. And yeah, but that's when Hephaestus, that's when Bell and Eyes, sorry about that, simply, well, get their horns, tails, and also Eyes' wings for everyone to see. With one of with the vice captain actually, well, being rather, well, fascinated because, simply putting, Eyes' wings, they looked, or essentially shined, like pure gold. The most purest kind of gold. And well, yeah, he was a bit fascinated by that, because the vice captain is essentially known for his blacksmithing prowess. And yeah, at the moment he actually even thought that I said wings made out of gold. But that's when Hephaestus simply told him to, essentially this, it's rude to stare at a lady's wings. With the vice captain then simply stating, wait, what? Essentially being a bit, well, embarrassed by that. And yeah, Hephaestus just simply said it out of a whim, because dragons don't exactly care where you look at them. Well, only for females, if you look at them, well, I think you guys know where. But yeah, simply put, as Hephaestus then asks them to come with her, and as Bell and Eyes, along with the captain of the Familia, go to Hephaestus's main office, or essentially her throne room, because after all, she's a god. And yeah, as they go there, they simply, well, begin to talk. And after some time, Hephaestus tells them what exactly the deal is. She knows that they want to go to the Middle Realm. She doesn't know particularly why, but she really doesn't care. What she does care about is that they help her with, well, 3 things. The first thing being this. Her familia is stretched thin. They are protecting most of the quarries and mines on the mountain ranges on both sides. On top of that, they're also protecting the main road, which goes all the way from, well, the northern realms to the middle realms. So yeah, and along with that, her familia has also been stationed all around the city to keep order. And yeah, with that being said, her familia is extremely stretched out. And that's when she simply tells both Bell and Eyes she needs 2 capable adventurers to, well, essentially do escorting duty on several blacksmiths, miners, and researchers which are planning to go down the dungeon. with Bell and Eyes simply stating, alright, that doesn't seem to be a problem. But that's when Hephaestus says the other two things. The second thing being this: a large band of orcs and goblins, which are apparently being led by, let's say, a orc war boss, which are essentially putting it, they are larger than normal orcs, and they're at the level of a level 5 to a level 7 adventurer. It depends, because they're normally at level 5, but if they go berserk, they go all the way to level 7. So yeah, or at least in power scaling. And yeah, as Bell and I simply ask her how many there exactly is, as Hephaestus simply tells both of them that there is about 60 to 80. But Hephaestus also tells them that they're going to be accompanied by at least 50 of her troops and another 10 adventurers. As Bell and I simply say, alright then, what's the third one? The third one being the mercenary group which attacked them. Hephaestus wants them dead, along with the slaves being freed. And that's when Hephaestus simply tells them something, that those slaves are more than likely to have arrived from, well, Bel's kingdom, or what used to be Bel's kingdom. And yeah, Bel gets rather pissed off about that, because those people, they're his people, the citizens of his own country, or his own kingdom, although that kingdom doesn't exist anymore, sadly. But still, as Hephaestus simply tells them that she can't directly offer them refuge, but simply putting it, they're going to be safe if they take the main road all the way to the northern realms. Because yeah, at this time, essentially all of the Norse gods, being Thor, Odin and all the other ones, except Freya and Loki, were essentially on the brink of war to, well, every single other god. Because yeah, the Northerners didn't exactly like how the gods simply came here and killed every single Dragon Emperor. And if you guys are wondering, by destroying or killing all of them, or capturing, when it comes to the Golden Dragon Emperor, yeah, they sort of also destroyed kingdoms, federations and empires which have been on this continent for, simply put, centuries. That also caused a massive power imbalance, with different gods and familias fighting over the remaining land, with certain lands being completely destroyed by the amount of, well, simply put, magic which was used there. And yeah, and the Norse gods didn't even participate in any of the battles. In fact, they actually sent their familia undercover with, well, essentially the armor of the dragon soldiers. And yeah, and basically all of the refugees, soldiers who were able to escape the war, or, well, essentially massacres, would come to the northern realms and join, well, essentially what could be regarded as the remaining forces of all of the dragons. And yeah, with that being said, Bel simply accepts this, and well, he asks her where exactly the mercenaries are, as Hephaestus simply tells him that she currently doesn't know. She sent several of her familia that she's... sorry guys. She says that she sent several of her familia's best scouts to scout the entire forest, or at least the areas of the forest which are considered to be the safest, to see if the mercenaries are there. But that's when Hephaestus also simply tells him that before that he has two other missions. with Belle simply responding, yes, yes, fine, we're going to do it all. But that's when Hephaestus also tells them something else. That they're going to be getting rewards for each one of the missions they complete, on top of getting free access to go out and in to the Citadel Fortress. With Bale and Eyes being intrigued by, because they were just said they were going to get rewards from the goddess of blacksmiths. So yeah, that was pretty exciting for both of them. So they went ahead. They went to the guild and simply asked for where the researchers, blacksmiths and alchemists of, well, where that certain party is, which they're going to have to, well, escort. With the main, essentially, guild receptionists simply telling them that they're going to come to the dungeon in about 5 p.m. With Bell and Eyes simply understanding, they go ahead and, well, essentially go throughout the city. And yeah, as they go through it, several things happen. Okay, now as I was saying, as Bell and Eyes are going through the, well, essentially citadel, trying to, well, trying to essentially see what exactly they can buy, they buy several potions and, well, several useful inventions which were made by, well, I'm simply going to be adding a new character. One of the researchers, or, well, actually no, one of, one of the alchemists, which is going to be going along with Bell and Eyes in essentially their party to the dungeon. But although she is an alchemist, she is also a witch. So, simply putting it, this right here. Her name is going to be Brunhilda. And yeah, she essentially gave Bell and Eyes several, shall we say, enchanted trinkets. For Bell, she gave him, well, simply put, 2 rings. One of those rings had essentially a type of resistance spell on it, so as long as Bell wore it, it would give him resistance to essentially poisons and poison gas. While the second ring was basically had a spell inside of it, that spell being Chain Lightning. Now, Bell's affinity always lied with, well, fire, as he was a fire dragon. But this ring will allow him to use Chain Lightning 3 times a day. And although it would consume 2 times as much as mana from Bell than it would do usually. And well, the trinkets which she gave to Eyes involved this. One necklace and, well, 2 bracelets. The necklace had, well, something similar to Bell, and a resistance spell on it, although this spell was, well, simply putting it, the necklace had 5 gems inside of it, and those gems, simply put, all had a different resistance. One of them had a physical resistance, the other one had fire resistance, the third one had lightning resistance, the fourth one had, just like Bell, poison resistance, and the fifth one had, well, simply put, let's see, what should I put it as? Let's say mind attack, mind, essentially resistance, basically being psychological attacks, like terror, fear, and all that. Yeah, the resistance against that. And that was essentially her necklace. And what her bracelets had was something rather ingenious. When she used both of her bracelets in sync, she could essentially summon, she could essentially summon a familiar. And a familiar is essentially a type of beast which, well, someone can summon to do their bidding and all that, to help them fight, to help them scout and all that. Although Eyes doesn't have a familiar yet. She either has to capture it or a certain beast has to essentially see Eyes as its master. And yeah, now with that being said, 5 p.m. comes around. And yeah, as Brunhilde, Eyes and Belle are currently all together, simply speaking, and also if you guys are wondering, Brunhilde's age is 16, with Belle and Eyes' age being 19. And yeah, now as the other researchers, alchemists and blacksmiths, along with several miners, come along, all of them introduce themselves, and all of them being essentially side characters. Yeah, I won't be telling any other names, but yeah. As Belle simply asks them if all of them are ready, with all of them stating, yes, we are. And they head on into the dungeon. The first 7 floors are rather, well, nothing of interest really happens, because there are so many adventurers in the first a dozen or so floors that most of the monsters are always eliminated, or at least when there are adventurers there. At night, there isn't exactly a lot, but there are still adventurers, blacksmiths, and miners which are there. But yeah, as they head on further, as they get to the 16th floor, and at that moment, Belle and Eyes simply tell all of them to, well, back off. As the blacksmith simply asks them, why did we stop? And that is, why did we stop? As before he can finish his sentence, yeah, 3 golems come out of the walls. One of those golems is essentially a fire golem, so it's essentially the ranged golem. It can shoot magma and fire at, well, its enemies. And it is also, let's say, 3.5 meters tall, with the other 2 golems simply being earth golems, so mainly physical attacks. And yeah, as Eyes simply starts using her, starts using her light magic to essentially buff Belle, which, if I didn't say this before, yeah, light magic is mainly used to buff or heal, well, friends. Or it can be used at great effect against undead or demonic enemies, just like holy magic. Although holy magic is a bit more, well, specified, or essentially putting it, it's better used for healing and dispersing evil, like demons and the undead. But enough about that, because as Eyes does that, Belle simply goes forward, immediately going after the, well, fire golem. And, simply putting it, he's rather fast. With how fast he is, the fire golem can't exactly block. And with one single strike, the fire golem is now cut in half. And, yeah, as now the other 2 golems simply turn their attention towards Belle, they go ahead and try and, well, punch him in the back. And that's when something else happens. As essentially a wall of light appears, essentially in a defensive spell which Eyes can use. And yeah, and before the spell disappears and Belle could jump into action, Brunhilde uses her own spells. And also, if you guys are wondering what type of magic she has, it's essentially Arcanum, so, or Arcanum magic, that being arcane. So essentially putting it, you can use fire magic, lightning magic and all that. Although she doesn't have any sort of affinity for any type of magic. She can just use quite a few. And with that being said, she uses, well, chain lightning on the first golem. And yeah, the chain lightning goes throughout the golem, destroying the magical crystal inside. And yeah, as the golem simply falls to the ground. And yeah, then it simply disappears. The second golem starts rushing towards Brunhilde, but before he can get to her, the wall, which was essentially, well, there to prevent the golems from punching Bell, sorry about the guys, from punching Bell, well, disappears. And simply putting it, Bell comes from the back of the golem and Eyes from the front, as both of them destroy the golem. The golem falls to the ground, as the magic crystal is, well, left there. And that's when Bell tells all the miners, blacksmiths, alchemists and researchers that they can do whatever they want, because there is no more monsters in this area. And they do just that. The miners start mining all of the... Oof. Again, sorry about that guys, I don't know why I'm yawning. But yeah, the miners essentially start mining, the blacksmiths go ahead and, well, also mine for minerals, although these ones being a bit more magical. The alchemists essentially go ahead and look for, well, any sort of ingredient that they can use, and the researchers simply examining every single one of the things which the blacksmiths, miners and alchemists, well, come up, or essentially find, or take. So yeah, after a couple of hours of doing that, they are finished with essentially their mission. And also, if you guys are wondering what exactly happened in those few hours, nothing of, well, truly to be noted of. They killed a few more golems, although all of them were earth golems, so yeah, not exactly exciting, shall I say. And with that being said, that was their first mission over. And as they went, essentially, and yeah, as they went out of the dungeon, Brunhilde simply goes ahead and asks Bell and Eyes something. As Bell and Eyes simply look to her, as Brunhilde asks them if she would be able to join their party. With Bell and Eyes being surprised, because they were not expecting that one. But with Eyes simply telling her that they are not planning on staying in this city. They're going to go to the Middle Realm, then the Eastern Realm. But that's when Brunhilde simply says, well, yeah, I didn't plan staying on here anyways. I have spatial magic, so I can, simply put, take all of my research and my equipment with me. With Bell simply asking her again, with this time shocked, wait, you can use spatial magic? Oh, yeah, but that's supposed to be one of the hardest ones to, well, simply putting it, learn. With Brunhilde saying to him, it's actually quite easy for me. And that's when simply Bell and Eyes realize something. Brunhilde knows arcane magic. She knows several different types of magic, being fire, water, earth, lightning, fire, what else? And let's say that she also knows ward magic. And also she knows several skills or spells which can buff friends and debuff enemies. So yeah, that's when, simply putting it, Bell and Eyes realize something, as they simply look at each other. Holy shit, she's a genius. Or essentially, holy shit, she's a prodigy. And yeah, as she tells all of them that, Bell and Eyes simply, well, they accept her into their, well, team. And yeah, as they then go to Hephaestus, with Hephaestus simply asking them who exactly the girl is. With Brunhilde simply stating her name, what she does, and that she's an absolute fan of Hephaestus's work. with Hephaestus simply blushing and saying, "Ah, thank you." But that's when Belle and I simply, that is, Belle tells Hephaestus that Brunhilde is a part of their party now, with Hephaestus simply telling him, "Oh, so she also needs a reward then. Fine then." And well, as Hephaestus goes to a different room, she comes back with, well, upgrades. That being an upgrade for, well, simply putting it, Belle. That upgrade being well, a shield. And an absolutely massive shield which covered Belle's entire body. If he was to, well, put it on the ground, it would be, well, its height was higher than him. So yeah, take this greatsword he's currently holding. And also guys, keep in mind that that greatsword goes longer for about half a more meter. So yeah, it's not exactly small. The shield was bigger than that sword. Yeah. And also the shield was made out of adamantite. So yeah, it wasn't exactly gonna break anytime soon. And on top of all of that, the shield was also enchanted by, well, simply putting it, several enchantments and even one rune. And that rune simply being that all types of magic attacks which went to it would be absorbed into, well, 3 of the magical jewels or gems which were inside of that shield. One of these gems was a fire gem, the other one was water, and the third one was lightning. So although if somebody used an earth type magic spell, it would crash upon the shield, well, essentially showing no damage. If somebody used a fire, water or lightning type spell, the shield would, simply putting it, consume the magic, essentially the entire attack which was sent, storing the magic in one of the 3 magic crystals. And if Bell ever wanted to, he could then shoot out that type of magic back at whoever, well, shot it at him. And yeah, that was what Bell got. Oh, darken. What Ice got is, well, simply putting it, well, let's just say that she got an upgrade for her rapier, along with more upgrades for her armor. So as you guys can see here, she has quite light armor. Yeah, what Hephaestus gave her was essentially something more like this, with the main difference being that instead of the armor pigment being black and red, along with having the sigil of essentially Belle's kingdom, instead it had, well, in a scheme of, as you can see here, white and red. Because that is what I was saying. It didn't have that. It had essentially the armor's main color was white, although it also had quite a bit of, well, golden exterior to it. And her rapier was essentially upgraded by Hephaestus herself. And how it was upgraded? Well, simply put, the rapier was now stronger, more durable, a bit more, well, simply put, taller, as the rapier was a meter and that is 1.9 meters long, but now with the upgrades which Hephaestus gave it, it was now 2.2 meters tall. Along with it, it was now much more sharper at the tip and essentially everywhere else. And yeah, those were the upgrades which Ice got. And the upgrades which Brunhilde got, the new party member. She got a mask. Now, this was no ordinary mask, because what this mask did is that it had essentially a concealment spell on it, making whoever wore it turn invisible, but that wasn't it. The mask was also outfitted to essentially be a portable mana well generator and a mana storage facility. So simply put, whoever wore the mask would have 3 times normal of their, well, mana. And along with that, the mask could also generate mana. And how? So, taking the monster crystals or monster cores and creating them into mana. So yeah, those were the upgrades and items which Belle, Eyes, and Brunhilde got. And well, after that, Belle simply asks Hephaestus when do they need to destroy the orcs infesting one of the quarries. With Hephaestus simply telling him in 2 days, with Belle accepting the challenge. But before he headed off, he simply said to Eyes and Brunhilde that, yeah, all of them are tired, they're gonna go ahead and sleep. And that's exactly what they did, with all of them sleeping at one of the nearby inns. And with that being said, guys and gals, this is going to be the end of the video. And judging by the time of day of where I currently am, I hope all of you have a good night